Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mob Museum. My name is Shakayla Alvarenga. I'm the Director of Public Programs here at the Mob Museum. Thank you all for being here tonight. We are honored to present tonight, One Night in Las Vegas, the 25th anniversary of the Tupac Shakur murder. 25 years ago this month, rap superstar Tupac Shakur died 6 days after he was shot right near the intersection of Flamingo Road and Colville Lane in Las Vegas. Today, Shakur remains one of the most recognizable faces and voices in hip-hop. Tonight, we will explore the events that led to his death and the controversies that followed. Before we introduce our panelists, we want to show you an 8-minute video we have prepared to set the stage for tonight's program. The museum recently conducted a series of interviews with individuals who helped us document the night Shakur was shot, September 7th, 1996. We kindly ask that you silence your phones.
So Fight Night in Las Vegas for Mike Tyson was unlike anything I had ever seen. And there's been nothing like it since. We've talked about Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, Conor McGregor. Nothing compares to a Mike Tyson fight week, especially culturally for the African-American community.
Tupac Shakur, along with Marion Suge Knight, attended that fight. And as the fight was over and the crowd was dispersing, there was a melee in the MGM Grand. And that involved two rival parties, both believed to be affiliated with Southern California gangs. And Mr. Shakur was basically in the middle of that.
So we stayed in the lobby for a while. We heard commotion. Now, this wasn't uncommon at a Tyson fight. People would fight. People would be belligerently drunk. This would happen. But this particular instance, we saw a lot of people rushing and then walking out, and security walking out. And little did I know, my friend said, "I think that's Tupac." I was like, that's not damn Tupac. Lo and behold, it was Tupac.
So I was the sergeant, and I had about 12 officers who worked under me, and we were assigned to the Las Vegas Strip. After the fight, sometime, maybe about an hour or so after the fight, I heard on my radio, two of the officers who worked for me, I heard them yell that they heard shots fired at Flamingo and Koval.
We were walking, if I remember correctly, we were walking up Las Vegas Boulevard, and the cops were flying by us from Tropicana heading towards Flamingo. And again, traffic. So you see all these cop cars and you see people trying to move out the way, but people don't want to get out of the way. And we're just, we're looking and we're like, where the hell are all these cops going? Like, something big must have happened.
At the time, I was on a bicycle. I was outside of the MGM, just slightly north of there. And I heard the call come out, so I started heading northbound on the Las Vegas Strip while they were heading towards the Strip.
Mr. Shakur briefly talked to some women in another vehicle, and then out of nowhere, a white late model Cadillac pulled up alongside, and a gunman immediately opened fire. Mr. Shakur was struck multiple times, including gunshot wounds to the chest. Mr. Knight was simply grazed by the bullet.
So I went over to the car, pointing my gun at him and telling him to open the door, and the door didn't open. So I grabbed the door with my left hand while my gun was in my right hand, and I went to pull the door open. And when I pulled the door, I couldn't get it open at first. And I noticed that there were bullet holes right around the door handle. And I thought to myself, the door is probably damaged from these gunshots. And I still think it probably was. But I yanked on it a few times and it did finally come open. Well, when I pulled it open, a male who later turned out to be Tupac, he was leaning against the door. So when I opened the door, he kind of fell out with the door as I opened it.
I kept looking at my pager, 911, 911. I think something's wrong with my family, but it's one of my friends. And he was like, "Did you hear?" Yeah, I called him on the payphone. "Did you hear?" I said, "Hear what?" "Tupac got shot."
So I grabbed him with my left hand and laid him down, and I looked at him and I could tell immediately that he was in big trouble because there was a lot of blood. There was clearly multiple gunshot wounds in the torso. And he was still alive, he was still breathing. And I go, "Who shot you?" And he looked at me, and I could see him trying to get a breath together. And I thought I was going to get some information. And he got his breath together. He looked at me and he said, "Fuck you." And that was just how he said it. He put emphasis on it. And right after he said it, his eyes kind of rolled back. He gagged a few times and he went unconscious. And as it turns out, those would be the last words he ever said in his life.
As Mr. Shakur clung to life, there was great hope that he was going to survive. His fans across the world were expressing support for him. Many of his fans gathered outside University Medical Center, held prayer vigils, hoping that somehow there would be a miracle and he would live through this.
At a certain point, it was just swarms and swarms of people coming to see this man. You just can't believe it. And I remember being at school and people were crying, really crying over Tupac. And that's when it hit me. It was like, wow, he meant so much to so many people.
We were going through a period, it was 1996. There was a lot of rappers being shot at the time for whatever reason.
Do you think East Coast, West Coast beef? You try to tie those things together and we're like, nah, maybe it's just a crazy, unique incident. But no, the theories that followed afterwards just made it even crazier.
It was very frustrating as a reporter to cover this case because there were very few leads and very few people willing to talk. There was a lot of pressure. Right, this is big news, and in particular the Southern California media markets, but of course the East Coast, West Coast feud, major national story.
So Tupac was our Malcolm X, our Martin Luther King, our Marcus Garvey, our Huey P. Newton, our Bobby Seale, because they were all gone. And given that we had the Rodney King riots, we were looking for a leader. And our leader just so happened to be a rapper who was angry but passionate about his people, who would fight for you as if he was your best friend in the trenches, no matter how rich he was. He was one of us. And from that point on, say what you want about whether you loved him or you hate him, but everything changed. I mean, he truly proved that we could be bigger than just rappers. This culture was bigger than music.
Everything about that scene and that night was just bad. It was chaotic. It was messy. We have one guy who loses his life. The other people who were there with Tupac, we had absolutely no cooperation from them. No one saw anything. That's what we got out there on the street that night.
I get asked about this case all the time, and it's the one case that my kids go, "You covered that?" It's a case that has a lot of staying power as far as public attention. I will say that at the time it happened, we didn't know how big it was, right? We knew it was a high-profile rapper, hip-hop artist, very successful, talented individual. But it wasn't until years passed that you really look back on it and realize that it was, one of the biggest crimes in Las Vegas history.
Now, I would like to introduce our panelists for the evening. Stephanie Frederic, our moderator, is a two-time Emmy Award-winning journalist turned film and TV producer. She is the CEO and Chief Content Officer of FGW Productions. Some of her behind-the-scenes productions include Girls Trip, American Gangster, and the Tupac Shakur biopic, All Eyes on Me. Before his death, Frederic conducted an exclusive interview with Orlando Anderson, the man many believe killed Tupac. Please join me in welcoming Stephanie Frederic.
Good evening. How's everybody feeling? Good, good. It is an honor to be here to moderate this event tonight.
Thank you, Stephanie. And Frederick Reynolds is a retired Los Angeles County Sheriff's homicide detective. He began his career as a police officer in Compton, California in 1985. Reynolds assisted in Operation Heatwave, the massive search warrant operation targeting 2 gangs involved in dozens of shootings and multiple murders in Compton following Shakur's death. He is a recently published author of the book, Black, White, and Gray All Over, A Black Man's Odyssey in Life and Law Enforcement. Please welcome Frederick Reynolds. Malcolm Greenidge, better known by his stage names E.D.I, Adidon, and E.D.I Mean, is a rapper, record producer, actor, and original member of the Outlaws. The hip-hop group was formed by Shakur just months before his death. E.D.I made several appearances on Shakur's album All Eyes on Me, featured on the songs Trade and War Stories, When We Ride, and Thug Passion. On the night of the shooting, E.D.I was in the car traveling behind Shakur. Please welcome E.D.I Mean. E.D. Our final panelist, Chuck D, is the leader and co-founder of the legendary rap group Public Enemy, the author of 2 critically acclaimed books and a political advocate, activist, publisher, radio host, and producer. He has appeared in numerous public service announcements for national peace and the Partnership for a Drug-Free America. For the past 5 years, he has hosted On the Real, Off the Record for Air America, on which some of the most important musical and political figures of our time have been interviewed. Chuck D continues to make music and to write on technology, politics, rap, and soul music and race. His most recent book, This Day in Rap and Hip Hop History, was released in 2017. Please welcome Chuck D.
Chuck D. Thank you. This is almost like a dream team of panelists, correct? Guys, I got to tell you, 25 years later, I still remember where I was, exactly where I was, what time it happened, when I got the call. Edie, I know you knew where you were. Chuck, where were you when you got the news?
Where was I? I think I could have been in New York, but all I know is my reaction was pure anger. When people were sad, and I knew a lot of young people were sad, I was angry. I was angry how it all rolled out. I looked in the future and I said, you know, we're going to be talking about this in another way 30 years or 25 years from now. I'll be angry about that because, you know, Tupac was a jewel, and he's still here. But when I looked at Pac, the first time I met him at 19 years old, carrying bags for Digital Underground, getting a verse in on the stage.
Same song.
Hooking up with Tretch that first year, 1990, being out in the world and looking at them as young soldiers. I looked at a dude that said, this dude is going to be doing this thing until he's 60, but his passion ran deep. And so when I heard news about that, the first thing that came out of me was anger, because I felt he was taken. I just felt that was unnecessary. But then, you know, life is life.
Edie, here it is 25 years later, and we're still talking about it. How do you process that?
It's amazing to me that that we are still talking about it. I'm sure people are like, well, it's Tupac, of course. They still talking about it, but I just imagine people would be done with this story a long time ago, and it only gets bigger. And you know, Nas's brand new album, #1 album in the country, his first song on that album is talking about that era and his experience with Tupac, and that spirit, man, that spirit is large and undying, and it's everywhere, and it's not going anywhere.
Fred, as an investigator? you must be baffled as to why this case is not solved.
Yeah, I'm baffled because all of the evidence was there. If you knew what to look for, if you knew how to investigate gang-related cases, this case should have been solved. It was interesting watching the police officer. I guess he was on the bike that rolled up. The way he said it was chaotic, and you know what Tupac told him, "Who shot you? Fuck you." Well, that's a typical response in these types of shootings. But as a law enforcement officer, you have to know how to respond accordingly. I grew up in Detroit, so I grew up with a lot of people that didn't do the right thing all the time. So I know how to deal with these kind of situations. I worked in Compton for 14 years. I know how to deal with these situations. Just because a victim tells you "fuck you" and a scene is chaotic, it doesn't mean that you just kind of poo-poo it, which is kind of what I got from him and everyone I've talked to.
Well, E.D., you were, if I were to lay it out, Suge and Pac in the BMW, and you were in the car behind. How are you processing this? Because E.D. and I worked on All Eyes on Me. If you guys may remember, he played himself in the film. How many people can do that 20 years later? We shot right at that intersection of Collaborator and Flamingo. I remember my attention was on you that night because I knew that you were coming back to the scene of the crime. For you, even being back in Vegas tonight, 25 years later, to the month of when this happened. How you doing, brother?
Well, like you said, it's been 25 years. So I've had a lot of time to process what happened, to heal. Had to heal myself. You know, in the beginning, we tried to self-medicate with a lot of different negative, a lot of negative methods. And, I just got tired of mourning and grieving. You know what I mean? And so I look at it from a much different perspective than I did 25 years ago. 25 years ago, I felt sorry for Tupac. I felt sorry for us. I felt sorry for his fans. Now I look at it as a great lesson, and I don't look at it like Tupac died in vain, because his music is helping kids that weren't even born when it happened. You know, I can pull up my phone right now and I got 19-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 15-year-olds. Like, I listen to Tupac every day. He changed my life. He helps me get through whatever I'm going through in my day-to-day. So it's so much beauty. So much beauty that came out of a dark, horrible night. And like I said, I process it a little bit differently. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's sad and it's terrible, and we miss him terribly. But I like to focus on the beauty that's coming out of that, and that continues to come out of, Tupac Shakur and his music and his art. And it continues to help people, it continues to motivate people, it continues to move people. And so I'd rather focus on that.
Let me backtrack a little bit. Chuck, you're a legend in the game. You know what made Pac extraordinary. Lay it out for us, for people who can't really put their finger on it. We know we love him.
It's hard to put the Pac passion in words other than saying, like, he was 125%. He's a little extra, but understand this. He's the first full package superstar out of rap music and hip hop. The first full package, like meaning that you're gonna go to the movie and see him, you're gonna listen to his records, and you're gonna experience him live. The Harry Belafonte full package. But this is the 1990s, and the United States of America viewed the voices of these young black men as a threat. And Pac, being the superb trained actor that he is, and understood understanding every nook and cranny about the corners of every street. Once he became a recording artist and went to all the hoods first before he got into a town and knew the dynamics, then he started making songs. The hardest songs that he ever made was like Brenda Have a Baby and Dear Mama, right? The hardest songs, because cats wasn't going in that territory. But then understand that America wanted to be able to figure out, like, how do we take this power and what is going to catch people the quickest? We also, I have a long backstory with Pop. After we finished touring, Ernest Dickerson, who was the cinematographer for Spike Lee, comes to me and my squad, the Bomb Squad, and says, look, we want to do a score for this movie I'm putting together called Juice. But we looking to audition this cat. This cat was just on tour with you. You know, this cat, Tupacalypse. So, he all right? I said, yeah, he's a good dude, man, passionate, and I heard he got background in acting. Next thing I heard, boom, he's in the movie. We're scoring. We're putting the music behind it. You know, put Cypress Hill's music in there. I Could Kill a Man. All, you know, we did the score. So I knew when Pac did Bishop and Juice, it was the first time that people saw, like, at that age and stage, a character that they could relate with in the film, in the movies, in Hollywood, a real dude who really can do the thing on acting. But then he does another movie after. What was his movie after that?
Poetic Justice.
Poetic Justice. He does a whole different character. He does 180 degree. And what Pac was able to say, I'm playing this character here, getting this applause, allowed to get this applause. Then I play Poetic Justice. I'm following the line. I'm trying to do the right thing. And he played it to a T. And the fanfare was like, I like that Bishop character. What was his next movie after that? Above the Rim. Scar character, right? Pac is back. A lot of this, what was feeding into that fire was an attitude that we felt that this is what America wanted to see. They wanted to see escalation and beef of young black men. They didn't want the revolutionary Pac who was really going to roll on somebody. So Pac had to find different methods. Pac found different methods. He said, all right, this is the character they want out of me, but I'm going to try to mix in my revolutionary background. I can't do it the PE way. That was the 90s. That was the 80s. Just the 90s and this, and then we seen on a lot of movies and videos and heard on records, and this is post NWA. I got to come with another game plan. And to my feeling, at that particular time, we're talking 92, 93, 94, Pac had a 10-year game plan to roll out. Outlaws is part of that. But it ain't going to come out like boom, we're going to turn you overnight. You could do that in the 80s. You can't do that in the 90s overnight, because this is what was festered and put out there. So by that time of 93, 94, 95, 96, art becomes life, life becomes art. People happen to see rap before they hear it. You know, MTV decides to play it like it's water. You know, BT, everything is about see it first. And so in order to see it, you had to act like being it or you had to be it, because now you got eyes. Like today, people listen more with their eyes than they do with their ears. Pac had the combination and he had a game plan. Fact. But this, I think, led up into the swirl of what's real, what's fantasy, what's art, what's life. And if you don't have control of your realities, which black folks definitely don't have and didn't have then the fantasy world starts to pour into it. And then people get lost in the haze of the two. And if you're going to be in front of a movie, a video at that time, a song, you bigger than life. So you influence, and if you could really pull that character off, you that character. So cats is taking your words with weight. And I remember my stepson at the time, one time he's crying on the stoop. He's 13 at the time. I'm like, dude, what are you crying for? What are you crying for? He's crying because he's listening to 80 times so many tears. 80 times. I said, so I knew just from that, just in the family, like, I said, you know, and I hit up Pac, I said, your word's working, your word's working.
I got to ask you something else. Yeah, that's incredible, right? The background. This is when you know you got a legend in the house, right? So, Pac also wrote you a letter. Is that correct?
Pac wrote me, look, I don't want this to be about me, because we got E.D. right here. He's
No,
got
we're
the
coming.
story.
We're coming to E.D. We're coming to E.D.
Come on, Chuck.
I'm the unk. Usually cats is like Uncle Chuck. So, I mean, obviously, me and my bro, Ice-T, we would set up the tours, and before we go out, we would give all, because cats is 10 years younger than us, 13 years in some cases. So me and Iceberg have a meeting. Everybody up in one room said, we all out here together. This is a show from the first act down to the last headliner. We are here to support the first opening act, and we are here to go on each city and make sure that we go in there and leave it better than how we found it. And those were game plans. It's like, don't get arrested in the town. We might not be able to get you out of there. These, you know, some of these town crackers might hang, you know, a light stanchion loosely and then fall on you during, you know, fall, you know what I'm saying? So you want to be one for all for one, because this is a serious matter of young black, mainly men, going from town to town, country to country, doing this thing. So 1994, Ice-T and Public Enemy set up the America's Most Wanted tour.
Right.
Who you think is going to come out and join us open while we waiting in Europe? So me and Iceberg sitting and said, well, is they getting over here yet? No, they delayed in New York. I think, you know, the Outlaws is also going to be along with Pac, because Pac was going to be the third. Ice-T, Public Enemy, and Tupac. I'm going to take them on this first European tour. Ice-T knocks on the door, says, yo, I don't think this is going to happen, man. That's the first incident that Pac was in New York where he got shot.
Right.
I wrote a letter to Pac when he was in prison in New York State. And, you know, my letter wasn't that nice. It was pretty much just like, dude, you that dude, you the next dude, we need you. We know your job is harder, but I need, so it was I don't know what the letter, I don't even know what the letter looks like. All I know is the letter that he wrote me, and I never received it. And then when I saw it printed in Resurrection, I was like, oh, so that's the return letter. But when I saw Pac, it was before that letter came out, and when he first got out, we was in the House of Blues in LA, and he hugged me for like 50 minutes. And so it was more like telepathic. Like, I mean, I ain't your father, I ain't even your older brother. It's like, yo, man, this is what you asked for. But the thing is, he had control of his life. When you're in that situation where life is art is life, it's the other motherfuckers, man. It's the motherfuckers that ain't got no fucking skin in the game. Mm-hmm. And how are you that all eyes are on you? You're not a crew like us. Back in the day, we had crew.
Right.
It's you. You know what I'm saying? That's why he tried to build crew around him. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? He's trying to build crew around him but he's like I said, he's the first package authentic superstar. So that's the thing, when you have a conversation on how to handle that, who the hell is going to tell you how to handle that? Ball players didn't even have that type of, Jordan might have had that type of authenticity, visibility, maybe, but ball players didn't even have what Pac had just got in there as a rap star, a movie star. He was breaking ground in an authentic street superhero. So how are you going to be able to stave off haters? They could come from anywhere, at any time, at any second, in any disguise. So I told Pac, only thing I said is like, bro, as great as you are as an actor, there's a lot of motherfuckers masquerading out there that you got to be able to decipher their masks. But I forgot what I wrote in the letter. But I've read his letter. It was endearing. But when I saw him when he got out, it was even more endearing because we hugged without words. And all the things that he said in the letter is what he kind of said that night at the House of Blues.
What did he say?
Huh?
What did he say? Share a little bit. Give us a little bit.
No, I mean, you know, he had a program. He was going to do a lot of give back stuff, you know? And I would say, you know, start small. It's big turf out there. You biggest dude, and especially in the United States of America, Because remember, he didn't go international yet. We were international cats, inviting him over for his first time.
Right.
He was big United States of America, and they would send the signals out on how big he was. But I said, it's a big turf for you. Start small, a little bit at a time. Don't overdo yourself. You know, you grown-ass man, take bites, take your time at it, and do what you do best, and you doing what you do best. You're already doing a good thing, man. You're doing a great thing. That's why I was angry at his murder. I was angry at his murder because I was just like saying, who knows where the fuck that this animosity came at him from?
Do you think that's why the case is not solved today?
How many cases are not solved?
Well, I mean, this is a major case.
I mean, wait, how many?
You heard the guy say it's the
Well,
biggest
Jam
case of
Master
all
Jay,
time.
my good friend Jam Master Jay, they just solved it, and that was an inside person.
Right.
I mean, so, you know what I'm saying? So my thing is like, I'm talking too much. I'm just like saying that my anger at the situation was festered by industry that had no fucking ulterior motive other than just with their fuckery, East Coast, West Coast. Well, I used to ask questions like, what the fuck does this mean to New Orleans? What does East Coast, West Coast mean to Chicago? What does it mean to, what is the East Coast? Where you flip a coin like East Coast, West Coast? What side are we? Oh, we in Scranton, Pennsylvania. East side? What the fuck? And so, when I saw media feed into this, instead of just saying, with rappers and MCs and all that, we was about like touring together. Everybody played their song from Public Enemy to Salt and Pepper to the Ghetto Boys. And go on stage, do your thing, rock your crowd, leave them with something they could take home with. And they were, cats that they call gangster rappers. All they did is like basically like, I'm that dude for real, or I know these dudes for real, and you don't want to be these motherfuckers. Right. Right. Simple as that. It's like, I'm on stage rhyming, you don't want to fuck with these cats out there. Everybody black in the cities, man. Every city could be a goon city for real. Every city got goonology going on in it.
Goonology.
Every city. There ain't a soft city out there. I saw my man out here, I saw my man out there somewhere, Brother Q, he's from Gary, Indiana. Gary was so hardcore that they killed off everybody like the dinosaurs. It was so hard, Chicago didn't want to fuck with Gary. But for real. So if you go into Chicago and you hear, no, I ain't fucking with Gary. New Yorkers that want to fuck with Newark. New Yorkers that want to fuck with Newark.
Right.
So I'm just saying that every single place has something in reality that you got to respect. That's all we try to do in the music. We tried to give a respect wherever we go, but it was festered by the media at the time trying to make a thing out of it. And then once it became a thing, how are you going to diffuse it?
But when I look at it, the 90s were such a great time for creativity and growth in hip hop. There was so much, great stuff going on in the business. And then we had all this violence. So I'm wondering, where did it come from? E.D., maybe you can help me out there. Like, how did this start? Man, I don't think that, look, I'm a member of the media. We didn't make up East Coast, West Coast. You know what I'm saying? At the time, I was working for Black Entertainment Television. We didn't say, hey, there's a beef. We heard there was a beef, East Coast, West Coast. We didn't say that. So where did it come from? Did somebody say something to somebody else?
I mean, a lot of it started, like Chuck said, with the media. On the West Coast, a lot of the artists on the West Coast felt like the media on the East Coast didn't respect their art. You know what I mean? And so there was some hurt feelings and some animosity, and I started to brew it a little bit. But overall, man, hip hop is a contact sport. Mm-hmm. It's highly competitive. You got a lot of testosterone and a lot of egos, and everybody wants to be, at the top of the mountain, and everybody wants to be king of the hill. And so, it gets testy, it gets touchy, and
Can I get testy with you for a moment?
Let's go, Stephanie.
Hit 'em up.
She said hit him up.
Hit 'em up. You had to know when you do a song like Hit 'Em Up that there's going to be some payback. Or did you? Were you guys just having fun?
I'm a student of hip hop. When we made Hit 'Em Up, I was thinking about all the great battle records that came before us, like The Bridge Is Over. You know, Jack the Ripper from LL Cool J. There's so many examples that precede Hit 'Em Up, and that's where we were drawing our inspiration from. It was about being able to get on a record and say, yo, I'm better than you, and this is why I'm better than you. You know, and this is why my music is better than yours. And that's what separates hip-hop from any other genre of music. Because we can, other artists compete with this. Country music artists compete with each other. R&B.
But
pop.
do they say I F your wife?
You can go on and on. Everybody compete with each other. But hip-hop, we can get on the record and say, yo, fuck what you talking about. That shit is whack. This is the real shit over here. You know what I mean? And so when you take it to that level, you know, feelings is gonna get hurt.
And let me, can I add on what E.D. said? The reason why it could even get personal, you got more words to deal with. A country singer can't wait to get to the chorus. You know what I'm saying? Same thing for R&B. Half of the words you don't even know, and they're gonna sing their way to the chorus and wave your hand in the air and shit like that. Rappers got to fill that shit up with words. I mean, maybe not until to Tekashi 6ix9ine, they ain't got to get into too much rhyming.
So you're saying they were being creative.
But back then, you had to fill your verses up with words. And if you got words and you got beef, you got to beef up with words.
Yeah.
You're so funny.
Let me tell you. Back then, we knew the difference. We knew real gangsters didn't have words. They had bullets, and they had limited time.
There you go.
Rappers had words. Matter of fact, the worst thing is when you have a rapper with a real gangster, because the gangster ain't talking. He probably can't out-talk a rapper. A rapper gonna talk and have wit, personality. Matter of fact, make you either A, fight, cry, or run. And a rapper with a spotlight and all that, it's gonna only make the dude that know how to fight mad and wanna fight. So this is where the thing is, if you don't have control of the real things in your environment, then what seems to seep in is like the virtual world before virtuosity became a thing. Like today, everybody, half of their head is in their phones. You know what I'm saying? Half of their world is in their phones. You take the phone away, you get a fight with somebody, right?
That's correct.
With anybody, from your mama down to your child, take a phone away. Back then, mess with somebody's record, you got a problem. Because this brother, yo, man, he can talk his ass off, man. Now, don't be mad because he could back it up. But then when it got into the area of, okay, now we dealing with COINTELPRO that fueled gangs in the 80s when they brought in, and this was during R&B, that was Reagan and Bush. They brought in guns and drugs at a high rate in the United States of America. So you're talking about the second decade of gunology being like accessible. When I was, let me tell you, I'm 61. I'm from New York. I'm from Long Island, right? Seriously? When I was 15, it was impossible to find a gun. Impossible. Impossible to find anything, even if, Superfly had cocaine and stuff like that. It wasn't until 78, 79 they infiltrated and had the cocaine wars. Y'all saw, what's that movie? Well, we had a song in it, the one with Denzel. What's that?
American Gangster.
What's it? Yeah, that movie.
I worked on that.
The one about Nicky Barnes, right? The one with Nicky Barnes in there.
Right.
Frank, what's his name? Yeah, he'd probably be in this mob museum soon or some shit like that. What I'm saying is that before 1977 in the New York metropolitan area, you couldn't find a gun. We used to hear the same old stories you heard in Compton or Detroit, like, oh, don't mess with that girl because her father got a gun. He have a sawed-off shotgun or a Luger from World War II or Korea, right? He ain't had no Glock and shit like that. Right? These were impossible guns, man. James Bond guns. Get smart guns, man. They ain't had no guns like that. 77 and 78 and 79, all of a sudden, little kids got money, cats could get guns, and all of a sudden they getting, all of a sudden this cocaine thing replaced the weed, and all of a sudden cats is getting different money. That's New York. New York and LA, the testing grounds. Y'all know the LA story. San Jose Mercury News busted down the CIA. We ain't got to go into, I hope they tell the story in this building too about that. Because the mob is the government, right? And Tupac knew that.
Tupac said it.
Right? What we seeing is a boiling, what they call a perfect storm pus effect around mid the 1990s. Where, okay, fuck it, have this shit, give them no control of their realities. We'll get some self-destruction shit going on. They already tried to say self-destruction isn't good. We'll keep pushing that, and we'll raise the stakes. There is money in the game in Black Death. There's money to be made. All you gotta do is fuel it with some guns, you fuel it with some drugs. You already got fucking animosity, but we could steer the animosity at themselves instead of the white man. Pac knew all this. Pac comes from Afeni.
Yeah.
Afeni's rolling with Assata Shakur. Public Enemy record talks about Joanne Chesimard, Assata Shakur. Pac came up with that. That's why when he say, call me Unc, or at least Unc in the rap, and not just me, but me and my guys that's around me. Pac had 20-year plans, but also Pac knew that he could go at any day. So he was a realist. I mean, you can't get into the mind and the psyche, into a body of somebody who actually sees so clear that he'll come up with so many ways that we don't understand until it rolls out in the wash. This brother's a result of that. You could not understand Idi Amin first 3 years if you didn't understand that there was a bigger picture there. Number one, Idi Amin, Gaddafi, man, they're choosing cats that really ain't, they're not on their most likable list in a white civilization.
Well, the name is E.D.I. Amin. Edie, you grew up with Pac. Give the people share a little bit about those early days. Share a little bit about those early days. Just how young were you guys when you met?
Me and Chuck was talking about it earlier, and we was kids, man. Pac died at 25 years old, and I was a fresh 25. He had just turned 25 in June. You know what I mean? And I was a few years younger than that, and I was the oldest. And so it just kept getting younger as the list goes on if you're talking about the Outlaws. And so we were very young, trying to figure it out. It wasn't no manual on how to be young, black, and famous in the 90s and how to handle yourself. Everybody now has a plethora of information to look back on.
Right.
In 94, 95, 96, there was no Tupac Shakur before Tupac Shakur. He was the first one. And so, he's trying to figure it out. We all younger than him. We trying to help him figure it out. And there's so many different, like Chuck said, there's so many different ways where you can either, fly or not. Pac was super talented from, a very young person. Everybody knows about Raising in the Sun. He was, I don't know how, but he was a kid when he did that.
At the Apollo.
He was talented. He had a lot of creative energy. I tell people all the time, Pac could go in the bathroom, smoke a blunt, take a shit, and come out with 2 movie scripts, an album, artwork for the album, our album, you know what I'm saying? And that, I'm blunting the shit, literally. Always creating, always trying to, come up with something else and push the envelope and raise the bar.
That's what I was thinking the other day. It's like, he was only 25 when he died. Look how much he accomplished in those 25 years. Think about that, 25 years, and all he left behind. I want to get to you. Fred, and investigate this case. As a homicide detective, how do you look at this case of what happened at Koval and Flamingo here in Vegas?
Well, just first of all, I want to address something that Chuck said. You're absolutely right about the guns. You're absolutely right.
That's from a homicide and gang detective.
Yes, you are absolutely right. When I was growing up, I mean, we had 22s, shotguns, 38s. When the cocaine came, the guns came. They exploded. Next thing I know, there's AK-47s, Uzis, all over. I mean, how the hell did we get these? You know what I mean? They came with the crack, and then we went from having, you know, one murder every 1 or 2 months to rolling up on scenes with 7 people laying in the front yard shot, 3 of them dead. You know what I mean? So you're absolutely right. There's a direct correlation with that. Absolutely. About the investigation of Tupac's shooting. I was at home when I heard somebody called me and said, "Hey, did you hear Tupac got shot?" I'm like, "Nah, I didn't hear it," right? And over the next day or two, I started getting calls from people saying, hey, the people involved are from Southside, right? Compton Southside.
Southside
Crips. And when I was a young patrol officer in Compton, I worked that area. That was my area. It was District 4. So I knew almost all of those guys over there.
But Fred, tell them how fast the news got back to Compton.
We got the news like within 1 or 2 days. We already knew. And 2 days after the shooting, there was already murders and shootings going back and forth involving the Southside Crip gang and the mob in Ludus Park and Elm Lane Pyrus. So, I mean, it just erupted after Tupac got shot.
But you guys have at that time, you had a gentleman whose son worked for Death Row.
Yes.
And he was Reggie Wright Sr. was the...
Yes, Reggie Wright Jr. E.D.I probably knows Reggie Wright Jr. He was the head of Death Row Security. His father is Reggie Wright Sr. He was the supervisor of the gang unit, right?
Reggie Wright Sr. told me he knew within an hour.
Yeah, because Reggie Wright Jr. called him. Absolutely. So we knew. And then once we started having the back and forth shootings, the retaliatory shootings and the murders, I mean, that's circumstantial evidence, you know, pointing that something happened to cause this eruption of violence in Compton between these 2 gangs that were, you know, involved in the murder of Tupac in Las Vegas. I bodyguarded Dr. Dre and Snoop in '95. I also bodyguarded Jewel for a little while.
That's a job.
Yeah, it was a job. It was a job. It was a job.
I love you, Jewel.
I love the Jewel too.
I love her.
Absolutely.
But I had to shake them because the label was getting involved in a lot of stuff, and I was a cop. I had to shake. I couldn't do it. You know, I couldn't walk that line, so I stopped working.
That is a line to walk.
Yeah, that was a line. That was a line. I couldn't do it, so I stopped working for him, and then I had stopped working for about 4 or 5 months when Tupac was shot. And like I said, as soon as it happened, we started getting information. We started investigating these shootings. I investigated one shooting where a guy named Darnell Brim, he was a Southside Crip, one of the big bosses, one of the goons that Chuck talked about, because he's absolutely right on that too. The artists, you know, they're brilliant. The words that come out of their mouths, I mean, it's an excellent that I can't even put into words because I don't have the skill that they have. But it's the goons that are around the artists that bring them down. And when I did work as a bodyguard, it was my job to keep the goons away from the talent, right? Because the goons are the leeches. They suck off. They hang on, right? And that was my job. But it got to a point where I was jeopardizing my career by continuing to be involved in them, so I had to stop. Right?
All right. So the word comes back to Compton. There are all these shootings.
Right.
What were you told?
Oh, we were told that it was Southside. It was Baby Lane did it.
Orlando Anderson.
Orlando Anderson, Lil Lando, whatever. It was Baby Lane.
And what evidence did they have? How do you know? Was it word of mouth?
Yeah, it was word of mouth, but it was supported by strong piece of circumstantial evidence.
What was that?
Oh, it was the video. It was the video when Baby Lane got beat down in the MGM. It was a video. And if anybody knows, Baby Lane was one of those goons. And if anybody knows the way goons live, that's a transgression that has to be answered. It has to be. Because the way gang members survive, it's by respect, right? And once you lose that street cred and that respect, you're nothing. So that was a transgression that had to be answered. And it had to be answered by Baby Lane, because Baby Lane was the one that took that beat down, all right? Now, he went back and he got some of his crew to roll with him, because North Las Vegas, it was a stronghold for Southside Crips. There was a lot of them out here. They were selling dope out here, transporting it back and forth between Compton and North Las Vegas. And we knew that, because I had to come to North Las Vegas on several occasions to investigate cases involving these guys. So we knew there was a heavy concentration out here. And once we heard that they were involved, we knew exactly where they were going back to. We knew what kind of car they were driving. It was a late model Cadillac. It was a rental. We found out that after they left Vegas, a couple of them took the car to a body shop on a laundry to get it repaired before they took it back to the rental car company. So there was a lot of circumstantial evidence involved in this case. Tupac was shot with a .40 caliber Glock. Now, I don't know how many people in the audience are familiar with guns, but a Glock, most shell casings that are seen, if it's a 9mm, you don't know what kind of gun it came from. It could be a Smith & Wesson. It could be, any other kind of 9mm. But a Glock leaves a distinct marking on the base of the shell casing. So you can look at a shell casing at a scene and you already know it's a Glock. You might not know which Glock did it, but you know it's a Glock. So we knew what kind of gun that was used. And I think they were .40 caliber WIN information. Well, as we were investigating all these shootings in Compton, we were getting calls that the Southside Crips were arming up, and they were getting delivered guns in duffel bags. So we did some raids, and we recovered a duffel bag from a house in the Southside Crip neighborhood. As a matter of fact, it was at the corner where Serena and Venus Williams' sister was murdered years later. She was murdered by Southside Crip gang members.
Where was Vegas police in all of this?
I don't know. Where are they now? Where they now? Where they at now? I don't know.
Let me say this. Vegas police were invited. The police department was invited here tonight. And they declined to come.
Well, I'm asking a question. Let me counter. It's like, number one, it's the Tyson fight. And the whole world is watching the Tyson fight. They're not fucking interested in no sub-black culture.
No.
They're trying to make sure that everybody coming to the Tyson fight is going to be safe. And most of the people coming to see the Tyson fight that night is white ticket holders. So they're trying to figure out, they had no idea that there's a subculture of seriousness going on. Rap culture too? It's 1996.
1996.
I'm like, yeah, it's kind of serious. It's not. So it caught them by surprise. Mm-hmm. I mean, from that point on, like the officer said, he was like, we didn't even have no idea that this was going on. It's different even today when cats is following what's going on and saying every little step of the way.
And
even
social media.
With Tekashi 6ix9ine and all those cats today, and it's all interwoven, and now social media and all Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all this, and now from the grandma to the child kind of know what's going on. This was a subculture from a bastardized music that was fighting its way to the top. They had no fucking clue.
But you know what?
Fucking clue.
You know what,
it's
Chuck?
like get people in and out of the Tyson fight. It's the Tyson fight.
And back
that's
into
worldwide.
the casino.
Huh?
I said it, back into the casino.
Exactly. What was it, MGM, right?
Yeah, MGM.
Protect the MGM, Tyson fight, all these people, that's it. Oh, that shit over there, well maybe they go on the other side of town with that shit.
Because you have to ask.
They didn't know, but we knew. And we tried to tell them.
Yeah.
Right?
And
we
what
tried
happened?
to tell them.
And what happened when you tried to tell them?
Well, they didn't even want to listen to the information initially because of the connection that Lieutenant Reggie Wright had with his son. So they thought that any information that came from us would be tainted. But see, that was very, very short-sighted of them Because if you're a good investigator, right? If you're a good investigator, you listen to things from everybody and you learn how to sift through bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Because I can sit down and interview you. I could know the answers to every question that I ask you, right? But I'm not going to tell you.
Right.
I'm going to let you tell me, right? So they didn't even have the, I don't want to be, you know.
Go ahead. This is the place.
You know, I mean, I can even go back to the way that you guys were treated the night that it happened, right? Okay, I don't know how many murders and gang-related shootings that I have investigated where I roll up and there's cats laying on the ground bleeding or cats in a car bleeding. I don't pull my gun on them because they're victims. You understand what I'm saying? And the way you start a confrontation, I don't mean confrontation, but the way you start with someone is the way you end with someone. So if you start off disrespecting that individual, nobody's going to want to cooperate
E.D.,
with
tell
them.
them what happened to you when they pulled you guys over. So this is after the shooting. After the shooting. Car turns around. Then what happens? The whole entourage
My
makes...
man that took one of Pac's last pictures showed me a picture just downstairs.
Say,
of us.
let's acknowledge him. Leonard Jefferson,
Yeah,
where are
Leonard
you?
Jefferson, where you at, man? Stand up. Did he step
Leonard?
out?
They dip out.
Come on, Leonard.
There he is.
Don't be shy.
What camera did he have? And we were talking about.
Yeah, we wanted to know what camera you used that night. But
Leonard
yeah.
took that last photograph that you see of Tupac and Suge.
Right there.
He was a
Right
couple
there.
of blocks away from Cobalt and Flamingo.
Yeah, so he showed me a picture just downstairs that I never saw before. I don't even remember what I had on that night.
You had on dark blue.
But he showed me the picture, and we sitting on the street.
On the curb.
Everybody out here know how hot Vegas is at night. And so but the picture he showed me, we sitting upright. But prior to that, they had us laying face down on the hot concrete for about, seemed like forever. And every time we tried to get up, no, stay down. You know, and cops walking past and they looking at our tattoos and they saying, yeah, he must be from over there. He must be from over there. But we weren't from no gang. And so they looking and they like, well, where's the outlaw gang at? Who's the out? You know what I mean? There ain't no gang, man. We rappers, man.
And let me
We
say
musicians.
this. Meanwhile, the white Cadillac is gone.
On the way to Compton.
On the way
On
to
the
Compton.
15.
Facts.
It boggles my mind how that Cadillac got out of Vegas. That no one said, oh, let's call the state line. Let's every police officer look for this white Cadillac. But you said it, Chuck. They were just concerned about getting the folks out of.
Wasn't there, like, I'm hearing, like, I'm getting across the wire, and I heard that there was a party, right, after set. Like, it's going to be a party. There's going to be a few parties going on.
662, there was
after
Be
the
a party, y'all.
So I didn't know, and I probably, in the back of my mind, I was like, oh, that party must have been way off the area, way back in Vegas.
It wasn't that far.
Black folk were at. Because right? Where was that? Was Shook on the party or something like that?
662. 662.
Okay, yeah. So maybe it was like outside of.
It wasn't
the
that far.
strip. It wasn't at all.
It wasn't that far at all.
Okay. All right. So I in the back of my mind, I was like, they wasn't concerned as long as they got that shit, the element, quote unquote, out of that area of the MGM area. So I mean, what?
So Vegas police told us that the case is still open and active, and that they were unable to come tonight. Your thoughts on that? Right. It's an active case. It's an open case.
Yeah.
You can say something, can't you?
Yeah, they still classify it as an active case. If it was my case, it'd be closed.
Why?
Because I knew who did it and I know how to put a case together. That's what I did for 32 years. You put evidence together. See, the thing that pisses me off about this case is that a jury was never allowed to decide, who did it and whether the person that's arrested and on trial is guilty or not.
Well, I'm going to tell
right?
you. So the police told us that they weren't getting cooperation from the gang members.
That's because they don't know what the hell they're doing. You very rarely get cooperation from gang members. That don't mean you just give up on the case.
Do some footwork,
You know what I'm saying?
right?
I mean, that's what I did. I investigated gang-related murders for a long time. Nobody ever wants to cooperate, right? So what you have to do is you have to use unconventional methods to get them to cooperate, which is what we tried to do when we did that Operation Heatwave, right? Operation Heatwave was a huge search warrant, and it was targeting the members of the gangs responsible, the Southside Crips, the mobs. I think
This is right after.
Yeah, this is right after. This is after we've had all these shootings and all these murders, so we know who's involved. And just to go back to Baby Lane, we were looking at him for a murder that he did in April of '96. Okay, with another guy that was involved, or in the car when Tupac was killed. So we knew what kind of guy Baby Lane was. When we put this search warrant operation together, we hit 36 houses. We had 16 arrest warrants for murder and conspiracy to commit murder. One of the warrants was for Baby Lane and a guy by the name of DeAndre Smith. They call him Freaky Dre.
I remember Baby Lane being in handcuffs when you guys picked him up that day.
Yeah, we arrested him. We arrested him at his house in Lakewood.
So,
We got
And you tried to bring him until Vegas you had him. Or Vegas police were there.
Yeah.
And what did they say?
Okay, so when we arrested Baby Lane, we got a bulletproof vest, a 9mm gun, airplane tickets to Vegas, ink pens from Little Caesars Casino. We brought him to the station, Las Vegas. We invited them to come because we weren't investigating their murder, but we knew who was involved in their murder, and we wanted them to be present because maybe they can get some information that would help them on Tupac. They came. They didn't ask Baby Lane not one question. They didn't ask him one question, and they left and went back to Vegas.
I'm in New York, and I think I was in Atlanta. So I forgot where I was, but I first started to get involved on the internet at that time. And I so didn't believe it after a while. I said, Pac, knowing that, he probably like Todd Machiavellian and just fake this stuff. And I put it on the internet, and this is 1996. Now, not knowing that, all right, when the internet was still, when people started getting on the internet, like in 2001, Cass is coming to me like, so you still think Pac is still alive though, right? And I'm like, it's the internet, bro. Nobody can scrape that shit off. I don't know. So, you know what I'm saying? This is like 5 years after 96. But by the end of that September, I'm in LA on Pico, Roscoe's. Mm-hmm. Some cats I see in there. I just had did that thing about my theory. They put that shit to rest. They said, no. Not only is he not gone, but there's some shit going down there in Compton every day. Mayhem. Yep. And I was done with that. I was just done with that. Because I put out, maybe, and I was in Roscoe's on Pico. 4 cats was like, nah, dog. Matter of fact, the shit that's going on right now down there, mayhem, bro. Every day shit is happening. Cats is falling. And I just left it alone after that. I said nothing. Because but that killed that. Yeah. But the funny thing about it, not funny, but years after, people are like, yo, so you think Pac is still alive? And I'm like, nah, man. Weeks after, I got the word that this shit is true. Weeks after, but it kept traveling on the internet. Probably still up there fucking now. So Chuck D believes Pac is not dead. Go there and Google that shit. It's Pop up for 96.
So we're clearing the air here today.
Clearing the air, my dumb ass.
So E.D., the elephant in the room. No, the elephant in the room. Do people really know who did it? You guys were right there.
Do people really?
In the entourage.
Mm-hmm. What about it?
Do you know? Do you feel like, I could ask you what you saw, but I already know the answer to this. But share it with the audience. what you can share. And you guys have to understand, this is not easy for him. Let's get real. He grew up with Pac.
Well, you know, Stephanie, not only is it hard because obviously Pac was my friend, I loved him, you know what I mean? It's also hard because, you know, when I look back on it, that was a black arm that came out that window and killed another black man. Mm-hmm. And that shit continues to happen to this very day. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That's the hardest part right there. You know, that somebody was that angry and that upset over a fight. You know what I mean? If that's what happened. You know, the MGM was fisticuffs. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Wasn't no weapons used in that. You know what I mean? And so they were so tough. If they the ones that did it, they were so tough, they had to come back with guns. You know what I mean? We got to find a way to get past that.
Do you feel like we'll ever know? Will we ever know the truth? Or is the truth already out?
I think the truth is already out. I'm upset with the way the investigation went initially because there's cameras everywhere in Las Vegas. You know what I mean?
That corner's dark.
No,
there is a hotel.
No, but I'm talking about thinking like an investigator building up the case.
Yeah.
There's cameras everywhere, right? You could have been able to follow Baby Lane from the time he left the MGM to wherever he was staying,
there are cameras
to whoever he talked to watch all four of them get into a white Cadillac and drive away. Okay? There's cameras everywhere. Now, just that by itself doesn't prove who did it, but that's a hell of a circumstantial piece of evidence.
But you got to look at 1996. If you go to Koval and Flamingo today, the scene of the crime, of course it's all lit up. Mm-hmm. There are gas stations and places that are there today that weren't there in 96. The only place there was that hotel.
Right.
And I do believe there's a camera at that hotel. I don't know what happened to it. But think about it. Yeah. It's a parking structure. This is, like you say, it's Vegas.
Yeah.
It's Vegas.
Because ever since that point, and then months after when Biggie was killed in Los Angeles, and finally that was a closing statement on this East Coast, West Coast hyperbole that got built up. It was a sickening thud that we still haven't recovered off of. So what now? What next? You know, love, like go back to Marvin Gaye. Love is the only answer, man. Mm-hmm. The animosity, the animosity.
No time for love.
The animosity is the nuclear fuel for all the bullshit. You can feed it with the guns and all that. The animosity is going to be there because the uncertainty of us understanding, knowing, loving each other, and understand we were detached from the human family. And now everybody say everything's kumbaya and it's all automatic, but that repair still has to take place. Love is that answer. What made, and I'm not talking about myself here, but coming from an environment where you know animosity is just in the air, how do you diffuse the animosity? Mm-hmm. We would go out on tour, and I was telling E.D.I earlier, myself and Ice-T would be like, listen, man, when you go in the club, guys, in the town that you visit, you make friends with all the dudes. You shake their hands. You're in their town. Then you have carte blanche almost to do whatever you got to do in the club with a certain amount of respect. Because respect also comes with love. But if the game plan and the plans are not there, and you know the young don't see the older give love, and the older don't give the love or whatever, they don't recognize the love, it's going to be hard to say that we could fix this with some love. Then you throw some tools in there. The misunderstanding and animosities are going to also lead to a fact of that was symbolic, and now and that means death was like at wholesale. Black death was wholesale after those two symbolic deaths in rap music. Entertainment, a stage thing that came into real life where real lives said, you know what? We're going to legitimize the animosity. You know what I'm saying? And the legitimization of animosity when it's woven in the uncertainty of law and it's woven into the uncertainty into the culture as being, okay, there's not a love part to, we know the animosity there, but like E.D. said, yo, rap is a contact sport. So that's where it was taken to be able to keep from fighting each other. Even back in the day, just like E.D. said, it's like, boom, it's gonna be on fists, and you end up, even back in the day, it's like, you end up even being friends with the person you whooped out with. Mm-hmm. And y'all homies, because y'all have the same passion. Right. But you throw a tool in there, and the tool is elimination. Right. And they got the impossible tools in there, and we saw years of that. We got babies who are grown now that come out of their parents jailed or killed. What's the repair there? What's the repair from that war? You know, I was fortunate to know that I loved a man, and a man loved me, and that was my father. But my father said, you know, don't be selfish with that. When you go out there and you see people like yourself and young brothers like yourself and sisters, you give love, because I'm giving you love. If not everybody got it, you see if you can fill the void with love. You cannot beat it with animosity or whatever, but you got to also fight for love too. But how much of love and loving each other have we seen splashed across culture and the media over the last 25 years anyway? You could take your average love song and find out there's animosity and haterism in it. Like, nigga, fuck you, and you're not coming here no more. And that's a ballad and shit, you know what I'm saying? What the fuck, man? It's like, damn, man, you got to come in a relationship like this and shit. Like, yeah, clenching in the bed, your fist clenched and shit. What the fuck, man? You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is like this thing that Pac gave us, and I'm saying gave us the fact when he with Brenda had a baby, Dear Mama, and all the rest of his songs, man. We're not gonna measure Pac up with his most fist up type of self. The Dear Mama is the hardest song in the world, man. The hardest fucking rap song in the world.
I feel like Pac was about love.
Listen. My last point is that these rappers, they didn't Kurt Cobain themselves out. You know what I'm saying? It was not suicide. I was on rock tours with Prophets of Rage the last 3 years, man, and every once in a while, man, we find another rock dude killed, suicide, another rock dude, OD. You know what I'm saying? Rappers, homicide. Cats ain't committing suicide. Right. What? Chester Bennington from what? Right? Then we have my man from Soundgarden. Yeah. Chris Cornell. So, I mean, it's Scott, you know. So I'm just saying is that love is the answer. We tried to say that what we got from the beginning of the pioneers of hip-hop, love is the answer. Somehow, something got in the middle of that and fueled the animosity. You can have animosity if you spitting at each other, but it's got to be love somewhere in that program. It's like, yeah, I smoked you on stage, but let's go, you know, let's all go to the spot and have a good time together. So we would come up with basic understandings. Yeah, have a great time. This is, like I told E.D., I said, from 20 to 27 as an MC, a rapper going around the world, this is your college years. You see those cats wild out and shit. This is your wild out time or whatever. Have a good time. Know your do's, know your don'ts. Know your wills, know your won'ts. Know your can, know your can'ts. Know your is, know your ain'ts. You know what I'm saying? But you need OGs to be able to say, the light is on you now. The spotlight is on you now. And it's going to be hard to handle, but you know what I'm saying? This is what you asked for. And that had skewed away, and I thought that, and once I'm talking about the media, I thought they were irresponsible with the coverage of shit that was great. Absolutely. And they covered shit that they were shocked by. Absolutely. And when they covered shit that they were shocked by and saw somebody who might have some shockumentary shit going on, getting a fucking $2 million earring versus somebody who's trying to say some love and probably catching the bus and making a rap record, then they say, oh man, I want a fucking $2 million earring. Fuck that love shit. You know? And that people was 25 years ago. 25 years ago, people have now, who were born after that, got beard in their face. So I'm just saying that those are the seeds at that particular time. This man has made 9 albums.
And they're good.
Now listen. Albums, not no Spotify select hits and tracks and shit. Albums. He's got, back then it was a thing like, all right, I got this song, I'm gonna get gully with it, but I got love in some of these songs. One of the greatest conscious records ever written by a rapper that never gets the credit was Too Short when he wrote The Ghetto.
Yes.
But you know what? When they want to talk about Tupac, they want to talk about how he just always, it's about bitches. Bitches all dug it. But he got that one song that says, this is for the love, boom. He's got a song that they used to always, but the media, the industry, they collapsed because they did not highlight the love. Love is the music, man, that black people got, man. Yeah. We come from Motown. We come from Philly International with Leon Huff and Kenny Gamble birthed me and Tom Bell. All those songs were saying, I know I ain't gonna fucking sing. I ain't Teddy Bear, I ain't gonna sing and shit. But we made sure that love is the message somewhere. Yeah. And then you can always come hard and shit, but love gotta be in there somewhere.
I agree with you 100%. 100%. We're gonna take some questions from the audience. You guys submitted questions. I have them here for the panel. E.D., you're up.
Questions? Let's do it.
This one's from Dominique. Is it Dominic? Dominic? Yeah. All right. Dominic says, fellow outlaw member Napoleon said in an interview that Tupac was acting strange in his final days. Can you tell us from your perspective?
I mean, one thing about the Outlaws and our experience with Tupac, we all had a collective relationship with him, but we also had individual relationships with him as well. My recollection of that period of time, Pac was it's hard to describe, but he was in such a zone creatively that he rarely slept. It was studio, movie set, sleep for a couple of hours, back to the movie set, back to the studio. I rarely saw him, really sit down and have a decent meal. He was always eating on the move. We was always moving. And so maybe that's what Napoleon is referring to, the fact that the man didn't sleep, he just worked all the time, but it was also one of the most happiest I've seen Pop.
That's good to know.
He was extremely happy to be free and out of prison. He was extremely happy to be around his family again after sitting in Dannemora Clinton Correctional Facility for 8.5 months. And so that's my observation. You would have to ask Napoleon what he really meant about that because I'm not sure what he meant.
Got it? Yeah. All right. This one's for you, Fred. More of a question that I think we've discussed. Was the window in Tupac's car, in Suge's car, and the BMW, was it up or down?
I believe it was down. I believe it was down because he had just got through talking to some girls right before it happened. But E.D. could tell you that better than me.
I remember the girls, we interviewed those girls, and they told us that, Pac was being friendly. He liked women. And he was inviting them to the club. So the window was down, he was kind of hanging out the car. That was my understanding of that night. Was the murder weapon ever found?
I'm glad you asked me that question.
Listen, there were all kind of conspiracies.
I'm glad you asked me that question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, like I said, the murder weapon was a Glock 40, right? Kind of a unique weapon back in the 90s, 96. A guy by the name of Tim Brennan, he's probably one of the best gang detectives that I know. He worked at Compton PD. And he was going through some old, when the Compton Police Department got taken over by the Sheriff's Department, the Sheriff's Department took all of the guns that Compton PD had in evidence and property. So a lot of the guns were found property, you know, like if you find a gun in your yard or something, you call the police, will come pick it up and put it in found property. So Brennan was going through all these guns, and he came across a Glock 40 caliber that was found property, and it was found in a yard about 4 houses away from where Baby Lane lived, okay? So Brennan gets the gun out of evidence, and it had been sitting in property, sheriff's property, for about 10 years, right? Brennan gets the gun, because they were about to destroy all the guns. Brennan gets the gun, takes it to the sheriff's lab, they test it, and it comes back as the murder weapon, right? Comes back that the shell casings had found at the scene had been worked through the action of that particular weapon. Brennan contacts Las Vegas PD. Las Vegas PD, okay, all right, we'll come get it. They go get the gun. They test fire at their own lab, and they come to the conclusion that it's not the murder weapon.
How can that be?
Okay, I have no idea. Because these firearms experts are trained, they get the same training. So there should be no way that one firearms examiner says that it's the murder weapon and another one says that it's not. I don't even know how that happened. I can't speculate how it happens. All I know is that one firearms investigator said that it was a weapon, and it was a Glock 40, and another firearms investigator for Las Vegas Metro said that it wasn't. So the last I heard, the gun was in the possession of Las Vegas PD Metro.
It wasn't found in someone's backyard. That story was...
No, it actually was found in the backyard. It was a neighbor called because they found a gun in the backyard, but it sat in property and evidence for like 10 years until Brennan was going through all the guns before they were destroyed, and he came across a Glock, because it wasn't that many Glock 40s that were in property. So because it was the same kind of gun, caliber, that was used in the Tupac murder, he sent it to the lab to be tested, to the LA County Sheriff's Lab.
I'm just sniffing that, and something about that doesn't sit right with me.
Yeah, it don't sit right with me either.
Can we just end on a positive note? Yeah. Let's talk about Pac's legacy and maybe some lessons. Chuck, why are you looking at me like that?
I think I've already said it. I mean, he's the first total package. And that was very important that not only did you have the passion he had the passion to be that total package. I personally think that, and I think E.D. could back that up, that he was looking to conquer another area. I mean, look, you killing it in movies and records and concerts, you know, so what's that other area? The other area is probably, you know, forming, you know, more teams and more protégés, and also like going into like doing serviceable things to the community. But it's a two-way street with that. The community got to be able to embrace you as well as you trying to do these things in the communities, and the communities were apprehensive at that particular time.
But do you remember, he did a press conference, E.D., you were there.
Excuse me?
Pac did a press conference like 3 weeks before he came to Vegas, and it was a political press conference where he was encouraging people to get out to vote. Snoop was there, Danny Boy was there, E.D., you were there. Pac was getting ready to get real political too. I mean, he was anyway.
He always needed somebody in his ear, and as anybody, I remember in the first years, it was a brother named Nzazi, who was an older brother, martial artist. He roomed with Pac, older brother, around our age, a little older, and that Pac always needed that. I remember even that night, you was talking about Nas, there was no MTV at Bryant Park, and Pac comes up to me. I said, "You okay, bro?" Looking for Nas. I said, "Leave Nas alone, man. Leave Nas alone." It was just, you know, like I said, he's 125%, man. It's like, you know, and I got some other stories, but it's not cool for me to tell the stories because it was passion. No, it was no dirt in it. It's just this, it showed this passion to try to make things better. And he would go out there and not be that person like, "Come on with me." No, he'd be like, "I'm going to do it," to the point that somebody has to say, "No, it's not advisable for you to be in the middle of this scrap. Stay to the side, have some other anonymous person deal with this situation. You got a spotlight on you all the time. You cannot be the authentic person in the middle of the scrap." That was Pac. That was just passion. That was, and you know, that's also the downside of what they call fame. because fame has a never dimming spotlight on you, especially when you're at your peak and your prime.
E.D., I'm going to let you have the last word. The legacy of your friend, Pac. What is it?
Man, his legacy just looms. You talk about an elephant in the room. It's like it looms over hip hop still to this day, you know. And I think that's a testament to like what Chuck said, being 125% all the time. You know, Pac didn't half-ass shit when it came to his art. It was always full on. You know, it wasn't like I said in the interview downstairs. He wasn't in the innuendo. You didn't have to guess when you put on a Tupac record. You knew exactly what he was talking about from the first few bars of his music. You know what I mean? That's why I fucked your bitch. You know what I mean? Like, you can't get no more. You know what I mean? Even the first few bars of Dear Mama. You know what I mean? Like, so his legacy would be authenticity and just being a passionate person and bearing his soul unapologetically in music and not holding anything back. You cannot find me an artist then or now that can put, you know, that kind of passion in his music and that kind of, you know, variety to go. I can do Dear Mama, I could do Keep Your Head Up, I can do, you know, Only God Could Judge Me, I could do When We Ride on Our Enemies. His legacy is like Chuck said again, the
Nothing
full
like it.
package, the complete package.
There you have it. Authenticity, 100. Yes.
I know that we could talk about this for hours.
Hours.
So thank you all so much for coming and listening to this event here at the Mob Museum. Another round of applause for our fantastic panelists.